Andrew McCART, IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm here in Sheffield, one night before fight night. With me I've got Dominic Ingle. How are you, Dom?
Very good. Do you ever listen to Jerry Cinnamon?
I do, yes. Yes, of course I do.
Just when I'm listening to you, she's a belter.
Yeah, she's a belter.
Have you got the same accent? You're from the same place?
No, he's from Glasgow, I'm from Edinburgh.
All right. So you're from the posh end of Scotland then?
Yeah, the posh and the harder, the tougher, the rougher, you know.
Yeah.
Belter.
Nice
belter. She's a belter.
Brilliant.
You like it? Do you like
I'm going to watch him in the summer, yeah.
He's a good guy. He's his new song that's out, I can't remember what it's called now.
It's called, if I'm, I can't remember, but it's something like Bonfire or something.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
Yeah, well, we'll talk music later, but I think I want to talk some boxing if that's okay. I just want to jump straight into Kell Brook. I mean, looked amazing on the scales today. I've spoken to a lot of people today. They've said that they want to see Kell at 154. Maybe he should have stepped up earlier in his career. I mean, you've been in camp with him. How's he been?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, you know, we've had this conversation forever and a day. Kell was a massive 147, and you know, he can make 147 on the way he's trained. Not really the way he's trained, because he always trains hard. He's, you know, we've had him saying he's cut corners in all his fights. Well, the thing is, he might have cut corners outside of the gym. And if you ask anybody in the gym, Kid Galahad, anybody who's ever trained with him, he never cut corners in the gym. He might have cut corners with his food. He might have had a crafty drink or had a chocolate bar or whatever. That's where he might have cut corners. He might not have had enough sleep. But I will tell you one thing now. Looking back over his career, the camps he's put himself through and the way he's trained himself down to the weight, there's very few people train as hard as him. And he can make 147. But after the age of 30, rehydrating back up again and being good going into the ring is a different matter. You can do it when you're younger, before 30. It's a bit like when you're young. How old are you?
I'm 37.
Right.
37, getting on.
So when you go out round Edinburgh on a bender, killing yourself, getting smacked.
Right.
Now, when you're in your younger years, 20 to 30, you could live a normal life. You could go and get smashed, get up the next day, you know, whatever. When you get older, it's harder to recover, and it's the same with making weight. So you can't do it after 30 as effectively. So that's why 154 is good for Kell Brook, because the rehydration process and making weight process is so much easier, and it does affect your performance massively when you're making a weight that you should no longer be, you know, you can make, but you should no longer be making. So, you know, I think that's where he's going to be at, 154. I think if the Corn fight came along and they stipulated 147, I think Kell could do it, and even though it would knock the edge off him for the fight, I think Khan's that far gone in what he's done with his career that it kind of balances up, because, you know, it will affect Kell stamina wise and punch wise, but Khan's just ain't got a chin anymore, and it's only a matter of time before Kell catches up, because I think Kell's worn better than Khan has. And you know, I say, well, Kell's had 2 fractured eye sockets. Yeah, maybe he has, but Khan's been knocked out a lot of times, and that has its toll. It does have its toll. In later life, the more times that you get knocked out in a fight, that's gonna, you know, probably lead to dementia later on. It's been proven. So, you know, for Kell, he never has been knocked out. He's been stopped on his feet. You know, he's never been knocked out spark. So for that fight, he could do it if it ever comes around. But, you know, for me, this camp, the way he's done it, I think 154 is the way he needs to be.
I want to touch on Amir obviously a little bit more later on, but for now, obviously, Kell's it's well documented that he left the Ingle gym, done his thing.
Only physically.
Mentally he was still there.
Yeah.
But he's came back to this camp. I mean, was it like Kell's, when he came back to you for this fight, was it like he's never left? Was it like it was just back to normal again, or was it?
It like the prodigal son? Do you mean?
Yes.
No, because it was never going to be that way. 1 minute, sorry, Baz. No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it in the car. No. No, I didn't see it in your car. No. Why? Well, Barry, I can go and have a look. I'm just in an interview. I can go back to the house and have a look for it if you want and do all this kind of stuff. I've got the key in my pocket. I can send somebody back for it. Give me 10 minutes. I'm just in an interview and I'll try and sort it. Yeah. But Baz, well, I'll do it as quick as I can. All right, don't worry about it, Barry. The car's locked. Well, where would it be? Where would it be? Right, well, I ain't seen it in the front seat or the... Alright, can I get off phone? Where? If it's in the car, Barry, in your car, it's locked. Alright, I'll go back and have a look in 10 minutes. I'll go and have a look, Barry. I ain't looking back, see. I'll go and have a look for you. I'll have a look, but you might not be able to do it, but I'll ask. I'll get somebody to have a look, yeah? Alright. In a bit. That's what you have to do, you're never away from it, are you?
Oh, your son's going.
Well, that's Barry White, isn't it? So where were we? The camp. So yeah, no, because look, Kell's been in the gym since he was 10 years old. He left for a period of time to train with Dave Caldwell, and it didn't probably work out as planned. And sometimes you have to give people the space to make the mistakes, because that's the only way they learn. You can say all day long, look, don't learn by everybody else's mistakes. And my dad used to say the same to me. He gave me, this is where you're going to go wrong, this is what you're going to do, and everybody thinks they know better. And then you sit down one day and you go, you know what, actually he was right. But you don't go up to your dad and go, you know what, Dad, you were right. You think, clever sod, that type of thing. And it's like with Kell, I've already been through all that, so you have to give them the freedom to do what they want. And if they make, I think if that had come about at a different point in his career, when he hadn't made his money and he wasn't financially stable, I would have had a good sit down to him and said, Kell, you're making the wrong move at the wrong time. But he was in a place that if he made it all went wrong, well, he could finish boxing and he'd have to live with that decision. But luckily, he's got his money, he's got his house, and he never has to box again. And I think I would have, I was away at the time. I was in Canada training. I was away with Billy Joe Saunders doing a camp. So things work out for a reason, and he did his thing there. He went with John Fuchs and trained, and it was almost like, look, in every fight he does it. Every fight he does it. They think they know better. The grass is greener. Not even that the grass is greener. They actually become. They think they know it all, and they're there to fight, but somebody's got to tell them how to do it. There's no question, 30 years old or 31 or 32, Kell Brook knows how to fight. Billy Joe Saunders knows how to fight. Junior Witter, they all know how to fight. Anthony Joshua. Did Anthony Joshua get beat by Ruiz the first time because Ruiz was better, or that Joshua wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing? What do you think?
Yeah, well, you
exactly. Exactly. So it wasn't that Ruiz was this fantastic fighter, and that's so always happens. It's the fighter taking the foot off the gas. Cole Fletcher against George Groves took his foot off the gas. Do you understand? And if luckily Fletcher got through that fight. So you have to let him. You can tell him till you're blue in the face. You're going to do this. You're going to make this mistake, and this is going to happen. But they think they know different. But unfortunately, they don't look back over time. It's not just happened with Kell Brook. It happened with Harold Graham. In a pivotal fight, he boxed Sambu Kalambi in a European title fight and got beat. He left me dad and went to train with some Panamanian trainers. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That was. I don't think that was his first defeat. I think his first. It might have been. I can't remember whether that was his first defeat or not. I think it might have been. But I've seen it all before. So I'm not going to fall out with Kell Brook, because Kell Brook gave me a lot of money. I've trained him. I've had a great career with Kell Brook. He was really, apart from Junior Witter, the kid I brought through, the second time when he came back in the gym at 22 to become a world champion. Junior Witter, I did so much work with him and with Brendan as well, but Kell was probably the first one where I had to really do it all on my own. So you get kudos for doing that. You learn stuff, and Kell became a world champion. Not only did he become a world champion, he actually went to America and did it against a guy who everybody thought were going to beat him. So you're never going to fall out with guys like that. Kell's always looked after me, and sometimes, even though you think it's wrong, the decision that they make, you have to let him make it. And his comeback, his last fight wasn't fantastic, and he made hard work of it. He could have made easy work of that, very easy work. And I don't think it wasn't because he didn't train properly. I just think he had the wrong game plan, he had the wrong instructions, came in 4 pound light. It's never good. This time, it's now nearly 2 years since I trained him for a fight. The last fight I trained him for was Rabchenko, and he boxed in March 2 years ago. So that's how long it is since I've trained him. Obviously, he's been back in the gym for the last 8 to 6 months, but we're 2 years on from that point. So he looks in great shape today. He's looked great in the gym. He's now got to look great on Saturday night. And that's where it could actually all go wrong, really, because nobody knows from his last fight a year ago how it's going to go. It could be a tough fight, it could be an easy fight, it could look great. We don't know. So people ask me the questions: where's he go from here? Let's wait for Saturday night, see how he performs, and then if it's not too good, someone's going to have to say to him, it might be you want to pack up, or no, you can beat certain kids, and there's certain kids you want to stay away from.
Does Kell, like you mentioned it, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, does Kell have to go out there and put the best performance of his career, maybe get the stoppage, or just like a shutout win before he actually is mentioned with the world champions at 154? Because if he wins ugly, does he, like you said it yourself, you have to have a word with him and say that wasn't your best performance again after 14 months out?
Well, if he goes out in the first round, hits the kid with one shot and knocks him out, what are we going to learn from that?
Nothing.
Exactly. So if he goes 4 or 5 rounds, boxes the kid's head off and then chins him, that's good. He could go 12 scrappy rounds, he could box fantastic for 12 rounds, and people, he could box great for 12 rounds. People say, well, that kid was nothing, he should have knocked him out. I know what I'm looking for. So, I'll have to make that decision. I know Kell from all Kell's performances and how he's trained for them performances. Sometimes he's had great performances, and you know what? He hasn't trained so good. He's probably had weight making problems, and he's still put out good performances. I know them all. They're well documented. So I know really how Kell performs. So we'll have to see. We just have to see on Saturday night. I'll make that decision. And sometimes fighters don't take the advice. And you've got to remember that it's different when you've got a kid at 24, 25 and they have not such a good performance. You've got time to work on it and build and everything else, but past 30 or when you're 33, really how much more can you learn, how much more can you give? Your reflexes are getting not as good. It's more difficult to make weight. You've got other motivations in life what aren't generally going to be boxing. So there's a lot more distractions. Your kids are growing up. There's other things. You want to live your life a little bit. It's different when you're setting out as a young gun at 20 years old. Your mindset changes. Even for a normal person after 30, you at 23 are not the same person as you were at 33. That's for everybody. And if you are, there's something wrong. If you're still doing the same things at 23 you're doing at 33, you've gone wrong in life. Yeah. So for that, we shall see. And we'll have that look at Kell Brook on Saturday night, and we'll see where he's at. Yeah, 2 minutes.
Well, just staying on Kell again. Obviously, you mentioned Damir Khan and stuff. But I spoke with Eddie Hearn yesterday at the press conference. He seems to be very, very intrigued, and he wants the Liam Smith fight. Now, as a trainer, and you've known Kell.
Liam Smith, sorry, I missed that one.
Liam Smith. Yeah, Eddie wants that fight next for Kell if all going well for.
The car's at home. All right, take Killer then.
So Liam Smith. So Eddie Hearn basically said that the fight he wants next for Kell, if all going well for Saturday for Kell, was Liam Smith. Now I know you mentioned Damir Khan, but the rumblings I'm hearing now when I'm speaking to guys in the media and fans and whatnot, I think the fans are more happy and want the Liam Smith fight before the Damir Khan fight.
Yeah, listen, it's a good fight, Liam Smith. I'm not particularly bothered about Amir Khan, to be honest. Really, I think it's just a personal thing that Kell wants to get out of the way because, he's talked about this fight, whereas other people are stepping up. Liam Smith will have the fight. He sparred him he sparred him for the Golovkin fight actually. It was a good spar. And he was fighting. It was funny because Kell was fighting Golovkin and Smith was fighting Canelo. So it was ideal, and I don't think I don't think Joe Gallagher would have allowed that spar if Liam Smith wasn't fighting Canelo, because he needed somebody at a very high level for Liam Smith. And he messaged me the other day, Joe, and they released some footage of him sparring, which shouldn't really been released. And he said he weren't happy about it, but it was out of my control. But to be honest, he never showed. It was a very evenly balanced spar. And people said, "Oh, I heard this and I heard that." And I went, "You can't have them. You can't have a tear-up spar at that stage in training camps." And even though it was a steady spar, Liam Smith got cut, and I think it was just down to the head guard he was wearing. So that will be an interesting fight because Kell's not the same fighter he was then, and neither is Liam Smith. So it will be intriguing, and I think Liam's just a little bit younger as well. So Liam, so I'd prefer that fight. What I prefer is the fight that can be made, and the Amir Khan fight is a blooming pie in the sky fight, isn't it? Who cares? It's like it's up in the cloud. So Liam Smith, why not? And they're both the same fighters. And Kell said, "What do you think?" Yeah, fight him. Why not? Liam's 31. He's had defeats. You've had a couple of defeats. You're both still good. It's a fight, and we'll see what happens in that. So let's see how Kell goes on Saturday. For me, no problem. And I think Joe Gallagher fancies that fight. I think he's confident now that Kell's had enough losses, and he's old enough, a bit long in the tooth, and probably lost a little bit of ambition. And Liam's got a chance. So let's see.
Staying on Kell again, obviously a couple more questions on Kell. Just the 154-pound division right now is like. I've mentioned this before, that they're playing hot potato with these world titles. I mean, I think there's been like 7 world champions in the last year because Charlo lost his belt against Harrison, I believe, and then Rosario beat. I can't remember who he beat. The champions are.
But what does that tell you?
That there's not one marquee star out there.
That maybe that the fights are actually. Sometimes you get a champion and they just feed him a load of bodies. Look at Andrade. realistically, he won the title against somebody we never heard of, and he's boxed a lot of nobody since. Really, was he boxed?
Luke Keeler at the weekend, he's boxed. I can't even remember.
Well, nobody on his level though, has he?
No.
He's had a good touch, hasn't he? So, you know, they fiddled the title off Billy Joe Saunders, and then he's boxed nobody of any kind of substance since.
Liam Williams wants him.
Liam
Williams wants him.
Yeah, Liam Williams probably does, but so if the title's changing hands a lot, it means that actually people are getting the chances to fight, and like, you know, it stops people from being complacent. It's like everybody's getting the chance. Whereas if there's one kid, and we'll take Andrade as the example, well, they've never put anybody in with half a chance to beat him.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So that's the difference. So that's good that the title is changing hands, because it means that people are game and they want to have a fight. And you know, Cholo gets beat, then he comes back and knocks this kid out, and Hogan does all right with Munguia, then gets banged out by one at Cholo's easy. You know what I mean? So it's exciting, and nobody can put the money on it. That's what you want in boxing. You want everybody to have the chance, instead of going, oh well, he's going to beat him. Yeah, he's going to beat him. Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. You want a bit of a challenge in boxing. So the division's open. And for Kell, it's a case of, you know, picking the right fights, because you've got to measure it now. He's not in the, you know, the peak of his career, to be honest. He's, you know, we're not going to tell it. Like I say, I keep referring back to it. You know, being honest, I could say, oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, he's looking good in the gym. He's doing some good sparring, but he's got to fight. Yeah, that's what. It's not about sparring. It's not about making weight. It's about how you fight. And we've got to see how Kell Brook fights on Saturday before we can make any decision, really.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to go back to the public workout on Saturday, Wednesday afternoon. I noticed that Kell stayed southpaw that whole public workout. Can I read too much into that? Is there a reason why he was southpaw? The fights I've seen Kell, he was obviously an orthodox fighter.
Well, you're very observant. You're very observant,
Thank you.
And nobody else has come up with that. You know, I've never seen that. And sometimes you just do that to see if anybody's paying attention. Do you understand? And you've obviously paid attention. So 10 out of 10, you're the top of the class.
Thank you, Dom.
Kell can box southpaw, he can box orthodox, he can switch. Now, when people talk about switch hitters, you'll see people who can switch, and they'll box orthodox for half a minute, and then they'll switch to southpaw for half a minute and bike. That's not a switch hitter. A switch hitter is being in any position at any time, switching from orthodox to southpaw any shot. Do you understand? It's not like, I'll do it this way for a little bit and then switch to this way. It's a variation through the fight. Your foot stance and everything changes. That's what a proper switch hitter is. And Kell can do that. And I think he's just showing people, you know, if anybody picked up on it, it's only you. I don't think anybody else mentioned it. That if he needs to go and box southpaw all the way through the fight, he can. Now think about this one. You're a southpaw fighter. If you look on BoxRec, they'll tell you how many southpaw fighters they are and whatever. And I would imagine in Britain, 70% of fighters are orthodox, 30% are southpaw. So 70% of the time, southpaw fighters, or maybe even 100% of the time, but at least 70%, southpaw fighters are always fighting orthodox kids. Do you understand? And if you're an orthodox fighter, you can actually gauge, if you're not good against southpaws, you can just box orthodox fighters. So most of the time, you are going to be boxing an orthodox kid. It's very rarely you get two southpaws fighting each other. And when you do, what do they say? It's going to be a clash of styles. It's going to be this, it's going to be that.
Cancel each other out.
Cancel each other. And it's true, because a lot of the time, most of the time, they are fighting orthodox kids. Most of the time, orthodox fighters are fighting orthodox kids. It's very rarely that you get two southpaw fighters fighting. So, but Kell's very good, got a good track record against southpaws. You know, he beat the title for the British title against Barry Jones. Then he boxed Kevin McIntyre southpaw. Then the next 4 or 5 fights were all southpaw kids. Do you know what I mean? So he's very good at, you know, it's good for our kids to box southpaw. So Kell can fight any style. He can fight from orthodox, southpaw, and you know, it's just a bit of a showcase. If anybody picked up on it, he might go out and box southpaw through that fight. He might switch. He might keep orthodox, and I don't think Deluca's team will have even picked up on that for 1 minute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want
well, I just find it quite interesting.
Yeah.
I've always seen Kell box.
No, maybe it's mind games.
Maybe it is. Well, we won't delve too much. I don't want to give the tactics away.
It doesn't mean, you know, tactic. You know, we're not giving the tactics away, because there's a game plan for Deluca, and it's not necessarily to box southpaw or confusing, because Kell can do it all anyway. It's just to get the plan together. Kell knows what he's got to do. I know what he's got to do.
Obviously, touched on Kell there for quite a bit. You've got another fighter on the bill, Kid Galahad. I mean, final eliminated for the IBF title that many people thought he won against Josh Warrington. He's up against a tough opponent in Claudio Marrero. He seems game. He's talking a good game anyway, Marrero. Just talk to me a little bit about how Barry's looking at this camp.
You know, the thing is with Kid Galahad, the one thing about him, he's very consistent in his training, his performances. He's matured now. He's 30, 29 coming up for 30. Moreiro's about the same age. He's come over here. He's been in tough fights, similar kind of fights. Moreiro's had stoppages, been stopped a few times, and he's lost more than Galahad. Galahad's lost 1, Moreiro's lost 3, I think 2 on stoppages, I think. So, that for me is a tough guy, and he will have reassessed himself and adjusted and, come back stronger. And I never look at people's record and think, he's been chinned that season, because Galahad's not a massive puncher, so that's not really relevant for us. But he's tough, he's got a good game plan, and he fancies it because he's come over here for the fight. So, it is a hard fight for Galahad. It's not easy. It's probably going to be harder than the Warrington fight, because, Galahad's been there, thought he won the world title, and I think even though Warrington's rated as the best featherweight, I personally don't think he is. And the people like Moreira are tough kids. They are tough kids. So it's going to be a very, very tough night for Galahad. I don't think it's going to be easy at all. And he's prepared, fantastic. He's in great shape. He's done everything right. He's good on his weight, and he's the consummate pro, really. So that's paid off. That's why even when he got beat by Warrington, he's not one of these fighters who's going to disappear for 6 months and then start back training. He was back in the gym straight away and ready to fight. And he will come back, he'll hopefully beat Moreira, and then he'll be back onto Warrington. And if he gets his second chance against Warrington, he will beat him.
Do you think you have to get the stops against Warrington this time?
No, I think he'll beat him on I think Eddie will make sure he wins that purse bid. And I think Warrington Warrington can do nothing different from his last fight, whereas Galahad probably could do a little bit more different. So, we'll see.
Finally, before I let you go, your gym, you've got some great fighters in your gym. You touched on Liam Williams briefly there. I spoke about Willie Hutchinson on Wednesday with yourself. You've also got Robbie Davis Jr. now with you. Just talk to me about how your gym is flying at the moment. Who do you believe is one of the stand-up fighters going to come through that gym?
Yeah, they're all good kids, aren't they? And I've had kids come to me who were ready made. It was great. And Billy Joe Saunders came to me first 2 fights, fantastic performances. And fighters chop and change. He's back and forward, but he's so unbeaten. He's a good fighter. And sometimes they need to be constantly challenging themselves. For a lot of my fighters, they like the stability of the gym, the consistency of what's there. For some people, they need to change the scene. Billy's a prime example. But for me, Liam Williams, was always a good fighter. He was a good fighter under Gary Lockett. Gary's a very good trainer, but I think the problem there, talking about the situation, the AJ situation, generally when things go wrong for fighters, it's generally the fighters who get it wrong. But what do? They look around and try and blame everybody else. Amir Khan, look at him, every time he got beat he changed trainers more or less. And Liam Williams, I think, just being taken out of his environment in Wales, out of his comfort zone, around the people he could bounce off and mess around with and go to the pub with on a Wednesday afternoon instead of doing a training session. That's probably where the biggest improvements have been made, stopping him from doing the stuff he shouldn't do and being in a camp where there's like-minded individuals. I can remember him coming to the gym when he was 23 to spar Kell, when Kell boxed Golovkin, and thinking, he's a good kid, he can fight. And then obviously he had the fights with William Smith and he got beat and he probably lost his way a little bit and he probably just needed a bit of a change in direction. And he came to the gym and he's taken off and he's beaten the best kids in the last 12 months of his career, purely because he's switched himself on more and paid attention more and done as he's told more. He's saved himself from himself, basically. Yeah. So there's a lot of, Willie Hutchinson, 20 years old, unbeaten 10-0. He's going to be one, put a bit on now with William Hill or whatever. In 5 or 6 years' time, he's going to be a world champion. He is. And they're all bouncing off each other and they can all see each other developing and they all look at Kell and Barry as the role models, how hard to train. Robbie Davis, he came to the gym, I'm going to do a run. He goes, I'm quite a good runner. And then he did a run and he went, what level of difficulty was that? Because that's medium. He went, if that's medium, then I'm not a good runner. I went, well, we're not runners, we were boxers. So everybody's got what they think their level's good. And when you probably first come to our gym, we train people. We have a system in place, and it's not to make everybody a switch hitter or box out or be a Nazim Ahmed. It's to develop them to their full potential. Strengthen the weaknesses and improve on the strengths. And that's what it is. We never make anybody different. Liam Williams is no different a fighter than what he was 3 years ago. He's just going about it a bit differently, a bit more systematically, a bit more controlled, and realising he's a professional, which means he does it 9 till 5 days a week. Not I'll train for a fight, for a camp, and then 3 months off and see. That's where all the damage is done for a fighter, and that's what he's changed mostly. You know, all right, he's changed a lot of other things. He listens probably more, but the biggest change for him is he's now training more in between fights and not blowing up as much. So there's less work to do.
Well, Dom, I've had you for almost half an hour.
Is that how long it's been?
That's been how long it's been. I mean, it's been a good chat. I can sit here and talk boxing with you for a long time. I really could, but you seem like Barry's been wanting you for the last 10, 15 minutes.
Barry's gone, he ain't got time to waste. He's gone on a walkabout. So, you know, at the end of the day, the work's been done with Galahad. He's fueling up, he's rehydrating, he's looking, you know, Kelland, you've seen the weigh-in today. Obviously, all the kids are in good shape. But if you actually look at that weigh-in, you look at the 2 kids who stand out. Actually, 3 kids stood out to me today. Kell Brook, Kid Galahad, and Galahad's opponent Moreira, they're all in tremendous shape. I think they were levels above everybody else, but it doesn't mean because you look in good shape that you are, but it's generally a good rule of thumb. But yeah, they look very good, and that's a credit to how they train, how they live, how they sleep. You know, it's not a game, this boxing, it's a dangerous sport, and you've got to be ready for the ups and the downs and the bad things what can happen, so you've got to try and eliminate them. So yeah, all rolling on for tomorrow. We have a great night in Sheffield.
Definitely. Well, I won't keep much longer, Dom. Thanks for this Five Fill TV, and look forward to Saturday night.
No problem.
Tomorrow night. Thanks very much.